So the CIF team is not just doing what they're supposed to do day to day, they're also putting together conferences like this one to take stock of what works, what doesn't work, what can we learn. And to hear more about that, and a welcome from the organizer, the organization, Ms. Mafalda Duarte, the head of CIF, the Climate Investment Fund. Please take the floor. Give her a warm applause.
Good morning, bonjour à tous. I am not going to speak Arabic, and I will not speak French either. If you permit me, I will speak in English. I'm trying to see all of you, so many known people that we have worked together all of these years. Honorable ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, many colleagues here today. Let me start by thanking Minister Rabat and Mr. Bakoudi's words and make their words my own. And if you allow me, and warmly welcoming you to Morocco, Ouarzazate, this Noor solar complex, and last but not least, our CIF 10th anniversary event. I thank the government of Morocco and Mazen for so graciously hosting us here. For me, this is a personal privilege to be here. Like many of you, Mr. Bakoudi had mentioned 2009. I was there at the time. I have been lucky enough to help make this magnificent facility a reality. And it fills me with great pride to see it now up and running. In fact, I was here in October to visit it for the first time and was very impressed. I had been working and contributing to making this a reality from an office, from other places, and had never been to the site. I was very, very impressed. Noor, Morocco, has pushed the boundaries of concentrated solar power. This would not have been conceivable 10 years ago. I have been with CIF. My journey with CIF is almost a 10-year journey. And this story that we are going to hear about and we are seeing here from Morocco is a story that I see repeat itself time and again in the many countries, across the 72 countries that we are supporting worldwide. I had the privilege of last year of visiting 10 countries, 10th anniversary, visit 10 countries, and see on the ground the projects, hear the testimonies of people that are benefiting from our collective efforts. Some of them touched me more than others. Some have touched me profoundly. I remember 26-year-old Kenneth from Ghana. Where are our friends from Ghana here? A 26-year-old young man who had planned to immigrate to Spain, but with our efforts and the efforts, of course, of government of Ghana, now has decided to stay in the country and grow his own cocoa farm. You'll see pictures of him actually outside. There's a portrait of him outside, and you will see his face appear in some of the presentations we will make. There were other in Ghana that I was very touched by as well. Another one, Jeanette from Chile. It was a very remote location. We had to travel all day with no cafe on the road, with no gas station, nothing, in a very remote location of Chile. And this impressive lady, Jeanette, was telling me and the team that was with me the story of how a 24/7 access to energy had transformed her life. She managed to open a business, a laundry business. She managed to study remotely. And, very important for me as well as a mother, She was telling me about how now she can reach a doctor if her kids get sick at night. Before, this was not a possibility. So to me, when we reach these development objectives, these are development objectives, and as Minister was saying, and Mr. Bakouri as well, this is about development and contributing to climate change simultaneously. So when we reach these development objectives, while we meet our climate goals, I think I myself at least stay with this renewed belief that we can change lives and we can transform our societies. However, what continues to amaze me is that so few people seem to know about the CIF and our results, our stories. And I don't think the problem is exclusive to CIF. I think actually, you know, the narrative that is predominant out there is a negative climate narrative. We don't hear so much about climate success stories. And I think it is important that we make an effort, a collective effort, to make sure that we put those stories out, because those stories are there, they are here. And they are in many other countries, in your countries that you represent here today. So I believe that conveying this urgency of climate action is absolutely critical, but this pessimist narrative is not going to take us or is not going to inspire the kinds of climate action we urgently need. We are reminded of the power of ambitions and solutions thinking when we come to places like Noor. I hope that you have a chance to visit. You've seen some of it as you were coming through. There will be opportunities for you to visit the plant and let yourself be really inspired. I think this is a place that reminds us of what is possible and what can be achieved when we set our minds, our ambition, our energy to it. Here we are reminded of what comes from precisely aligning this ambition, strong leadership, and serious financial backing. These were the three forces that came together when the CIF were established in 2008. Remember, 2008, what was happening at the time? We had one of the most serious financial crises that the world has faced, and we had faltering climate negotiations. In this context, which we might consider a difficult context, the CIF, the founding CIF countries, which are here today, many of you are here, if not all, here today, and the multilateral development banks, also all represented here today, managed to establish, carve out this first-of-its-kind mechanism. This is a set of funds, as most of us know, if not all, that were established to get things moving in the right direction. And at the time, the thought was, with or without climate agreement, we are going to start demonstrating the way forward. Since then, the CIFs, as you know, a more than $8 billion fund has helped catalyze impressive gains in 72 developing countries. We have more than 300 projects, and these projects are leading to the generation of 26.5 gigawatt of clean energy. This is enough energy to power a country the size of Vietnam. 8.5 billion people are gaining improved access to energy, and I agree with Minister Rabah and Mr. Bakouri, absolutely essential agenda to address SDG 7. An area the size of Congo is being brought under improved forest management, and 45 million people will be better equipped to cope with the effects of climate change, thanks to the CIF and you as our partners. These significant results are a proof that, and I think it's important to stress this, given the times we live, these are a proof that multilateral climate finance really does work. But, of course, there's a but. These gains that we are seeing are not enough. We know very well that we are off track and remain way behind the levels of investment that are required to transition the world's economies. The OECD estimates that we are going to need to invest almost $7 trillion in infrastructure every single year until 2030 to stay within a 2-degree scenario. Let's put this into perspective. We might need to invest more than the value of the entire current global infrastructure stock by 2030. And the issue is that most of this programming is going to happen in the next couple of years. So there's even beyond the 11 years window that IPCC told us about, we now have an even shorter window to make sure that these investment decisions, the significant investment decisions, planning decisions that are going to happen in the next 2 years, put us on the track that we need and not locked into a carbonized future. I think the role of climate finance in this context has never been greater. At the same time, we know that public resources are quite constrained, which means that we must deploy them more wisely than ever before. Every single dollar of climate finance needs to help us catalyze systems-wide changes, including by pulling in the trillions of dollars of capital that are currently sitting on the sidelines. It's on this fundamental premise that the CIF financing model was originally designed and has been fine-tuned over the last decade. Our model has been very effective at direct leverage. Every CIF dollar spent is on average unlocking an additional $9.5 of investment in clean energy. There's a lot of creative accounting out there, and we see some of that. We see leverage ratios being made public that one can question, but you know, we are very proud of these leverage or co-mobilization ratios. So by going in early, taking calculated risks and deploying finance at scale, the CIF approach generates multiplier effects. And let me give you the example of Turkey. Our colleagues from Turkey are also here, over there. We have a large program in Turkey, of course, but just as an example, a $10 million CTF loan allocated to a national bank kickstarted a whole new line of business worth at least 75 times that amount. So we have a question before us, which is what next? I think there are 3 facts that should inform our collective answer to this question. And this question is very, very important, as we will be debating today and tomorrow and in the next couple of months. Number 1, we are dangerously close to a no-return climate scenario. The science, I hope that there's nobody here doubting the science. The science is crystal clear on this. Number 2, we only have a couple of years to get infrastructure investments right to avoid lock-in. Number 3, as you will hear in the next 2 sessions, we have proven tools that can help close the gap. So in reality, the actual question is, I think before us is, what do we want to do next? We are right at the center of this problematic. What do we want to do? In my own opinion, I think we have reached a last chance juncture to get it right on climate finance. starting here in Morocco through to June, when we decide on CIF's future, to the UN Secretary General's Climate Summit in September, we need to come up with a concrete proposal for a climate finance architecture that can support the climate front lines at the speed and scale required. As the CIF founders did 10 years ago, I believe it is now our turn to be bold, think big, and deliver a truly transformational response to the challenge of our generation. I see many faces here that I recognize very clearly. Many of us have been on to a greater or lesser extent, on an incredible journey with the CIF. I have myself devoted half of my professional life to galvanizing climate action through the CIF. And I don't need to come here, but coming here even makes me more proud. I couldn't be prouder to what we have achieved. We have driven major results and demonstrated successful models that have paved the way for real and lasting change for millions of people around the world. I just gave you two examples of two of those people that touched me profoundly in my visits last year. So we must take this opportunity to celebrate 10 years of hard work and achievement together and make the most of every opportunity that remains for us to lead and to act. As Sir David Attenborough said just last week, what we do in the next few years will profoundly affect the next few thousand years. The stakes are very high. The good news is that we know what needs to be done, and thanks to you and the last 10 years of hard work, we know how it can be done. So what's left for us is let us scale up, speed up, and harness this power of 10. Shukran, merci. Thank you very much, all of you, for coming. I believe you will very much enjoy these 2 days.